What a mind-blowing story, right? But tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. I love seeing how far our stories travel, and if this twist left you speechless, just wait until tomorrow's episode. It's one you won't want to miss. Hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you're the first to uncover the next shocking truth. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Emily Carter's Hidden Truth. For as long as she could remember, Emily Carter, a 14-year-old girl with fiery red hair and piercing green eyes, believed the scar on her face was a cruel reminder of a devastating house fire she had survived as a toddler. Her parents had told her the story countless times, how they had barely escaped with her in their arms, how the flames had consumed their home, and how she had been left with that permanent mark. It was the only explanation she had ever known, the only story she had to justify the way people looked at her. Growing up with that scar wasn't easy. The stares, the whispers, the unwanted pity, all of it weighed on her. Kids at school would throw cruel nicknames her way, mocking the mark that stretched across her left cheek. Even when they didn't say anything, Emily could feel their eyes lingering a second too long, their curiosity evident. She tried to act like it didn't bother her, but deep down, it did. She often wondered what life would be like without it. Would she feel more confident? Would she be treated differently? Her parents, David and Linda Carter, always reassured her. "It's a part of you, sweetheart," her mother would say, brushing her fingers gently over the scar. "It shows how strong you are." Her father would nod in agreement. "Not everyone could have survived what you did," he'd add, his voice full of pride. Emily wanted to believe them. She wanted to see the scar as a symbol of strength, but more often than not, it felt like a brand, a mark that set her apart in a way she never wanted. Despite her insecurities, Emily tried to live a normal life. She had a best friend, Sophie, who never treated her any differently. She had hobbies. She loved drawing, listening to music, and texting Sophie about everything from school drama to the latest trends on social media. But no matter how much she tried to ignore it, the scar was always there, a silent reminder of her past. And then came the dermatologist appointments. Every few months, her parents took her in for treatments that, they claimed, would help reduce the scar. "It's getting better," the doctor would say, though Emily never really saw much of a difference. If anything, she was beginning to wonder if the visits were more for her parents than for her. Were they hoping the scar would fade so she wouldn't have to deal with the questions anymore? Or was there another reason they insisted on these checkups? One Saturday morning, as she sat curled up on the couch, lost in a text conversation with Sophie, her mother casually reminded her of her next dermatologist visit. Emily sighed, rolling her eyes. "How much longer do I have to keep going to these?" she asked. "It's been years, and my face still looks the same." Her father gave her a reassuring smile. "It's improving, sweetheart, little by little." Emily wasn't convinced. She had heard that line too many times before. And though she didn't know it yet, that appointment would change everything. A chilling discovery. Saturday morning felt like any other. Emily Carter, still frustrated about her endless dermatologist visits, lounged on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through her phone. Her best friend, Sophie, had just sent her a meme, and she chuckled softly before sending a sarcastic reply. The rhythmic sound of her father fixing a cupboard in the kitchen filled the house, while her mother, Linda, moved about with her usual weekend routine. "I'm just going to check the mail," Linda called out, already heading to the front door. "Okay, Mom," Emily responded absent-mindedly, barely looking up from her screen. A few minutes later, the door creaked open again, and Emily glanced up just in time to see her mother walking back in, a stack of mail and the day's newspaper in her hands. She casually sorted through it, tossing unwanted envelopes into the junk pile before settling into her favorite chair with the newspaper in hand. Emily stretched, setting her phone aside. "How much longer do I have to go to these dermatologist appointments anyway?" she asked, her voice carrying an edge of frustration. Her father, David, looked up from his work and gave her the same gentle smile he always did. "I know it feels never-ending, sweetheart, but even if the changes aren't huge, they're still happening." Emily sighed, rolling her eyes. "Barely." Her mother, flipping through the newspaper, barely reacted until she suddenly stopped. The moment was subtle, but Emily noticed it. Her mother's fingers tensed, her posture stiffened, and the calm rhythm of her page turning came to an abrupt halt. Her eyes were locked on something, and the color seemed to drain from her face. "What is it, Mom?" Emily asked, her curiosity piqued. Linda didn't answer right away. Instead, she hurriedly folded the newspaper, rolling it up tightly, as if she could make whatever she had just seen disappear. "Oh, nothing," she said quickly, standing up and moving toward the kitchen trash can. "Just some bad news." Emily frowned, watching as her mother shoved the entire newspaper into the bin. "That was weird," she muttered under her breath. Even her father looked up with mild concern. "Everything okay?" "Of course," Linda said, forcing a smile, but Emily wasn't convinced. Her mother was a creature of habit. She never threw away the newspaper that quickly. Usually, she left it on the coffee table where it sat for days. So why was she suddenly so eager to get rid of it? A strange feeling settled in Emily's stomach. She sat quietly for a moment, pretending to go back to her phone. But her mind was racing. What could possibly be in that newspaper that had made her mother react like that? Later that afternoon, when no one was looking, she made her way to the kitchen. Her heart pounded as she lifted the lid of the trash can, digging through the discarded mail until she found the newspaper, slightly crumpled but intact. She smoothed it out and began flipping through the pages. Then she saw it. A missing person notice. Her breath caught in her throat. The picture was of a little girl with bright red hair, around 4 years old, smiling at the camera. But what made Emily's blood turn cold was how familiar that little girl looked. She looked just like Emily. A secret unraveled. Emily's hands trembled as she stared at the missing person notice. The picture of the little girl with fiery red hair and bright green eyes sent a chill down her spine. It was like looking at an old version of herself, before the scar. Her heart pounded as she scanned the bold black letters beneath the photo. Missing, Madison Walker, last seen 10 years ago. Her breathing grew shallow. 10 years ago? That would mean she was 4 years old, around the same age this little girl had been when she disappeared. A million thoughts swirled in her head, but one stood out. Why did my mom try to hide this? She quickly scanned the rest of the article. It mentioned that Madison had vanished from a children's home, and that despite years of searching, there had been no sign of her. But what really made Emily's stomach churn was the note at the bottom. If you have any information, call this number immediately. Emily's pulse roared in her ears. This doesn't make sense. It can't be real. But deep inside, something told her it was. Suddenly, a noise from the hallway made her jump. She had to act fast. She folded the newspaper, shoving it inside her hoodie before hurrying upstairs. She closed her bedroom door, locking it behind her. With shaky fingers, she pulled out her phone and quickly typed the number from the ad into a new message. "Hi, my name is Emily. I just saw the missing person notice for Madison Walker, and I think I need to talk to you." Her thumb hovered over the send button. Was she really doing this? What if I'm wrong? What if this is all just some bizarre coincidence? But then she thought about her mother's reaction, the way she had thrown the paper away like it was something dangerous. She knows something. Before she could second-guess herself, Emily hit send. The message delivered instantly. She clenched her phone in her hand, her heart racing as she stared at the screen, waiting. Seconds passed. Then a minute. Nothing. She let out a shaky breath, trying to calm herself. Maybe no one would respond. Maybe this was just a dead end. Just as she was about to set her phone down, the screen lit up. New message. Who is this? How did you get this number? Emily's heart leaped into her throat. Her fingers shook as she typed back. I found it in today's newspaper. The missing girl, Madison, she looks just like me. I think I might be her. There was a long pause. Then another message appeared. Where are you? Emily hesitated. She had no idea who was on the other end of this conversation. Could she trust them? She glanced at the newspaper again, her eyes locking onto the photograph of the little girl who looked just like her. I don't know who I am anymore. And for the first time in her life, she realized that might be the truest thing she had ever said. Running from the truth. Emily sat frozen, staring at her phone. The last message echoed in her mind. Where are you? She didn't know how to respond. Her gut told her to be careful, but at the same time, she had started something she couldn't walk away from. Whoever was on the other end of this conversation, they knew something. Before she could type another message, a knock sounded at her door. "Emily?" It was her mother's voice, slightly tense. "Dinner's ready, honey." Emily's heart jumped into her throat. Did she know? Did she see her take the newspaper? Forcing her voice to stay steady, she replied, "Okay, I'll be down in a minute." She quickly hid her phone under her pillow, her mind racing. She needed to act normal, needed to figure out what to do next. With a deep breath, she unlocked the door and made her way downstairs. The dining table was set, the scent of homemade pasta filling the air. Her father, David, sat at his usual spot, glancing up with a smile as she walked in. "There's my girl," he said warmly. "Everything okay?" Emily nodded, sliding into her seat. But her mind was elsewhere. She couldn't shake the feeling that her parents were watching her too closely. Every movement, every word, it was like they were waiting for her to say something. She played with her food, her appetite non-existent. Then, casually, she asked, "Did you see anything interesting in the news today?" For a split second, her mother froze. It was brief, almost unnoticeable, but Emily caught it. "No, not really," Linda said, forcing a small laugh. "Just the usual depressing stuff." Emily's stomach twisted. She's lying. She pushed her plate away. "I think I'm going to head to bed early. I'm not feeling great." Her parents exchanged a glance. "You sure?" her father asked. "Yeah," Emily said quickly, already standing. "Just tired." She turned and headed upstairs, her heart pounding. She had to get out of the house. In her room, she grabbed her backpack and stuffed in a hoodie, her wallet, and her phone charger. She didn't have a plan, just a gut feeling that told her she couldn't stay. Her fingers trembled as she sent one last message. "I need to get out of here. Can we meet?" Seconds later, the reply came. "Yes, I'll come to you." "Where are you?" Emily hesitated, then sent the name of a park a few blocks away. It was public, safe. At least, she hoped so. She took a deep breath and opened her window. The cool night air brushed against her skin as she climbed down, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't know who she could trust. She didn't even know if she was making the right choice. But deep down, she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't keep running from the truth. The truth changes everything. Emily's breath came in short, sharp bursts as she ran down the quiet streets, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. The night air was crisp, but her skin burned with adrenaline. She kept glancing over her shoulder, half expecting to see her parents chasing after her. But the streets remained empty. The park was just a few blocks away. It was late, and the swings swayed slightly in the breeze. A single street lamp flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows across the pavement. Emily hugged her arms around herself, scanning the area. Then she saw someone. A young woman, maybe 18 or 19, with the same fiery red hair as Emily. She was standing near a bench, nervously clutching her phone. The moment their eyes met, Emily felt it. A connection. The woman's face broke into shock and something else. Recognition. "Oh my God," she whispered, stepping closer. "It's you." Emily swallowed hard. "Are you Samantha?" The woman nodded, her eyes brimming with emotion. "I've been looking for you for so long." Emily felt her knees go weak. So it was true. She wasn't Emily Carter. She was Madison Walker, a girl who had gone missing 10 years ago. Tears burned at the edges of her vision, but she forced herself to stay strong. "I don't remember you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't remember anything before my parents, before David and Linda." Samantha's expression darkened at the mention of their names. "They're not your parents," she said firmly. "They took you. You were in a children's home, and one day you were just gone. No one knew what happened to you. I never stopped looking." Emily shook her head, confusion clawing at her. "But they loved me. They took care of me. They lied to you," Samantha interrupted, her voice pained. "They stole you from your real life." A lump formed in Emily's throat. Her mind screamed at her that this couldn't be real. But deep down, something in her had always felt off. The lack of baby pictures, the way her parents avoided questions about the past, the way they had panicked when she found that newspaper. "I need to call the police," Samantha said, reaching for her phone. Panic surged through Emily. "No, Headlights suddenly flooded the park. Emily turned, her heart dropping as a familiar car screeched to a stop at the curb. The doors flew open. David and Linda, Her mother's face was pale with fear. Her father's hands clenched into fists. "Emily, get in the car." "Now," David ordered, his voice dangerously low. Emily's breath hitched. They had found her. Samantha stepped in front of her. "She's not going anywhere with you." David's expression hardened. "She's our daughter." "No, she's not," Samantha shot back. Sirens wailed in the distance. Flashing red and blue lights painted the street. Linda gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Emily, please, we love you." Emily felt everything inside her breaking apart. Everything she had ever known was a lie. A police officer stepped out of his car, his gaze locking onto her. "Are you Madison Walker?" Emily took a shaky breath. For the first time in her life, she knew the answer. "Yes." Wow, what a shocking revelation, right? Imagine finding out that everything you believed about your life was a lie. What would you do if you were in Emily's shoes? Would you go with Samantha right away, or would you hesitate like Emily did? Let's talk about it in the comments. Stories like this make us wonder, how much do we really know about our own past? Have you ever experienced a moment when something didn't feel right, but you couldn't explain why? Maybe it was just a gut feeling, or maybe you found out a truth that completely changed the way you saw things. Share your thoughts below. And let's not forget about Emily's parents, David and Linda. Do you think they truly loved her, or were they just afraid of losing her? Should she ever forgive them for what they did, or is their crime too big to move past? Your opinions matter, and I can't wait to read them. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more gripping stories like this. The next one is coming tomorrow, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.